Alright guys, today we're going to talk about the top lessons you want to learn early, whether you're thinking about starting your video game collection or reselling in 2024 to save money, stress, and time. Are you ready? Snorlax! Wake up! Hey! Okay guys, so as you know from my previous video, I shared a little bit of backstory of how I started video game collecting and reselling more actively. And these are basically 5 lessons I learned in the 3 months I've been doing this that I think can help you guys a lot. Lesson 1, shipping challenges. So basically the first item that I found to sell was a gaming wheel, right? And I remember that the first time that I listed the item, somebody messaged me saying like, hey, I can't afford it because the item costs as much as the shipping. And I was like, wait, that's crazy. Why would the shipping cost just as much as the item? There's no way that the item can cost this much, right? It's impossible. I came to find out that, for instance, in eBay, when you create a listing, it kind of gives you a template. And sometimes I don't know if people do it by mistake or for other reasons. I'm hoping people aren't trying to like make extra money off of like shipping value. Basically, this template had the weight of the item completely wrong in the shape of the box. Usually the shape of the box doesn't really matter until it gets like really big boxes. But the weight of the item was completely wrong. So I actually grabbed the box where I was going to put him in and kind of like prepared
But I always say it's better to be pre-prepared.
the item for shipping, and I weighted it. I weighted it to size so I could put a more accurate shipping on it. And when I did it, the shipping cost was completely different. I think it went from like $50 to like $5 or $10, depending on the range, how far somebody is. And that's something that you want to keep in mind, not only as a reseller, if you're a reseller, but as a buyer. Because a lot of the times you can get lost on just the price of the item, right? You're not thinking about shipping. You're not even thinking about taxes, right? And that's something you want to keep in mind because those are going to add up. Lesson number 2. Prices are a lot more than just putting a few keywords or scanning a barcode into an app or a website and looking at the average price. Condition and description of the item matters a lot. What do I mean by this? Recently, for instance, I bought a switch box, an Ethernet switch box at a garage sale, and when I was checking the value of the item on eBay, I scanned the barcode, and then I saw that it was going for maybe $15-20, right? So I was like, oh, for $5, hey, great pickup. But I did not keep in mind that this was an open box, a used item, right? And the value for the ones that I was looking at was actually brand new. And so the price went from going for, $15-20 to going closer to like $10, right? Thankfully, I had bought it for like $5 where I still made some profit. You do not want to focus too much time into what the initial value that you see. You also want to keep in mind condition. You want to keep in mind description. For instance, especially with the consoles, sometimes the way that people sell the consoles is in bundles, right? So you may see prices fluctuate a lot because people are bundling them up with more controllers or more games, right? Another thing to keep in mind when it comes to prices, for instance on eBay, is a lot of times auctions and buy it now will have very different prices. You'll see auctions that sometimes go for very little, and that's just because somebody got lucky. And a lot of times it goes for a lot higher, and that just means that it was just a hot auction, or maybe if there were many listings when the auction was happening, or the item was in such good condition that 2 people were just fighting over trying to get an item, right? For the third lesson, now this is probably one that you've already heard of. It's probably a pretty common one, but I want to touch on it a little bit because of just some of the surprising things to me that I learned. If you're a Pokemon collector, you probably are very aware of how much things are reproduced. But just in general, especially cartridges, they can be very easily reproduced. So you want to do your research. You may want to even purchase certain tools. Like for instance, you can purchase some like special screwdrivers so that you can use to open the cartridges, so you can check them up, because that's going to be the best way for you to find out whether you have an original or fake. But there's definitely other cosmetic things that you can look for on a cartridge, or even say for instance on a box, because it's not only the cardboard or the cartridges that can get faked. You'll find out that even the styrofoams can get faked. And one of the things I found out that I had no idea about is that basically almost everything that gets sold as part of a console or a game has a model number. And so for instance, the Nintendo 64 styrofoam has its own code that you can look for to see if it has it. But not only that, there's very specific cosmetic design aspects of boxes and things you can look for. For instance, I noticed a couple reproductions for the styrofoams from Nintendo 64 where they were like all flat. They didn't have this indent on them, right? Or this one right here, this side. So that was one of the things I immediately when I started looking to buy the original styrofoam. That was one thing that I was looking for. You definitely want to do your research. You don't want to pay, original value for something that's a reproduction. You want to buy reproductions for the reproduction values. But the same thing, paper can also be reproduced. So you wanna make sure that you have the knowledge so that you do not get duped. Now for the next lesson, GameStop. Do not write off GameStop, guys. GameStop still has its place for you to find good deals, either whether you're buying or reselling, whether you're looking for your collection or finding for something that you can resell to grow your own collection. It still has very good deals. Now their pricing, it's a little shaky. Like I don't know exactly how they're pricing their things. Sometimes they price things at a very good value. It seems like anything that sells for over $100, they seem to max it at about $100. Especially if it's loose. If it's CIB, it seems like they max it at around $140. With the loose games, the problem is that sometimes they have it actually higher than what it actually goes on average. Like for instance, Pokemon games. I've seen a couple Diamond and Pearls that are priced at $80, and they sell loose for closer to $40. I did see a hard gold, I believe it was, that was actually coming up at around average price charting value, right? Then you can find things like what I found recently going to my GameStops, which is I found Xenosaga Episode 3 for the PlayStation 2. Now, they had a price at $100. What really sold it for me to get it, not for my collection, I am gonna try to resell this, but it came with the manual. And that to me just sealed the deal, because this game usually sells for around maybe $190 to $200. I think the last recent sold I saw was for $200, just the discs, which means that at $100 value, I could very easily resell it for $200 and at least almost double my profit. With the manual, I'm pretty sure I can at the very least, double my initial investment, right? So whether you're looking something for your own collection or something that you can use to resell to grow your own collection, GameStop still has its used. Now, the one thing is that you may have to spend a little bit of effort, because from my own experience, the GameStops that seem to be in more popular areas or metropolitan areas don't usually have a big retro selection, or if they have one, it's not necessarily good. And this was in a much more, not necessarily super rural area, but it was in a smaller town. Next lesson, bulk deals. I found out that bulk deals can be a very great way to grow your collection or find things to sell at very little to almost no cost. For instance, I shared a story before where I bought a Nintendo 64 for a really good deal.
and I kept some of the games and even upgraded the console to a slightly better looking console. And I sold that one for the same amount of money that I invested. So I basically got 3 games and a better looking console for $0. Recently, also as well, I went to a garage sale and I got I got these um, Nintendo Game Boy Advance and a 3D no in a DS, uh, where I'm basically gonna end up paying either very little or no cost to keep this one because I'm gonna resell the DS. Right, both deals can be a very good way for you guys to grow your collection. Don't be put off of buying something where maybe some of it or a lot of it you don't need. You can always resell it um, to make some of your investment back, if not all of your investment back. Now, for my, I don't know if we can call it a lesson or a PSA. It's just something that I started noticing it as I went around going to garage sales, being on Reddit and just seeing other resellers' behavior or buyers' behaviors. And it's probably a conclusion that a lot of you have already made, or you've already talked about, or have heard from other people, which is like nobody owes you a deal, whether somebody is buying from you or you're buying from somebody. Nobody owes you to make a sale. Nobody owes you to make a purchase, right? So this is something that I read online when I was actually researching about Beanie Babies. I read an article and they mentioned the value of a collectible. It's whatever somebody else is willing to pay. So, like I've mentioned in the video already as well, sometimes you can get caught up with the value that you see. And at the end of the day, just because there was somebody that was willing to pay $100 the day before does not mean that there's going to be somebody else willing to pay for that value, right? Be prepared with thinking about like, hey, what is your lowest value that you'll be willing to give as a seller, or what is your highest value that you'll be willing to give as a buyer, right? And a lot of the times that's how you come to an agreement, right? Having those already thought ahead of time can make negotiating so much easier, whether you're buying or selling. I'm actually recently going through that myself because I found a shirt that the last sold was $100, and it's actually looking like I might end up selling it for less than that. So I've already planned for that, right? A lot of times you try to maximize a little bit and then you sit on the item a little bit. You're capable of sitting on the item a little bit, but you're already starting to plan like at what point it's more worth to you to just let go of the item for $5, $10, even $15 less of what you were initially expecting, and still come up ahead, right? So again, nobody owes you a deal. I've seen it in garage sales a lot where somebody it's kind of upset that maybe the person doing the garage sales like selling at either average or too close to average, and at the end of the day, it's their item. Like they don't have to sell it to you. Again, do your research. There's a lot of research involved in this. There's a lot of learning curve in this. It's just not as simple as just going in and buying. You gotta learn different marketplaces and the different ways that an item gets priced and valued. All right, you guys got all that?
Hey, so I was. What are you doing?
Nothing.
You know what?
It was that idea.
Maybe I don't want to know.
So that's it, guys. That's the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching. Let us know in the comments what are some of your own lessons that you're learning by going through your own experiences video game collecting. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Easiest way to support the channel. It doesn't cost a thing. As well as following us on other social media so we can share off of YouTube our experiences. Be on the lookout. We did just get tickets for Southeast Gaming Exchange in Greenville, South Carolina. So we are going to be sharing our experience of going to our first video game convention from somebody that has just started actively collecting video games. We have gone to other conventions in the past, so we're not new to conventions. We're just new to video games conventions specifically. So we want to share our thoughts on how that goes and how good of a value it is to go to those as well. So be on the lookout for that. Again, thanks so much for watching. See you guys on the next one. Bye.